Recording. No, we're not just sitting here ignoring everybody. It's just loading into the Facebook stream. So it always looks like we're just kind of hanging out doing nothing. Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am Paula Jansen with Leisure Town Life, and we are joined this evening by Eva Lucas and Kathy Marchesseault. Both are candidates this year for the 2021 LTHA board election. And we're excited that you've joined us. It's going to be a quick 30 minutes. And, we're winding down into the last couple of weeks before election. And what we wanted to do collectively is to be able to provide you some pretty deep and, substantial topics to touch base on regarding the election, regarding what the processes look like, regarding, a little bit deeper dive into what you want to know from your candidates outside of the normal pomp and circumstance and promotional fluff that you normally hear. These candidates are serious about what they're doing and they want to make sure that you're educated. So our topic this evening is promise versus process and managing the expectations of the voter community. And we selected this because, we feel that maybe some people don't understand that if you're elected and you get a seat on the board, that magically all of your promises and the issues and the things that you would like to have happen do not necessarily happen that way. Sadly, that's the reality, but that's the reality for the current incumbents that are there. That's the reality for anyone who has come before these candidates and who has served on the board for the beginning of time since Leisure Town was created. So we're going to open that up for discussion tonight. What does it look like once a candidate is elected? What happens? I mean, I think you would be surprised to find out that things happen pretty quickly as far as once all the vote tallies are counted, and they go immediately into a meeting shortly after that, and things start happening. But depending on how many candidates get in, there's a process. If 3 new candidates get in, then that might be a majority. If 2 get in, it's a different process. If 1 gets in, it's a tougher road ahead, especially if they have ideas that don't necessarily jive with the current board. So we felt that you would be interested in hearing what Kathy and Eva have to say about what their expectations are and what do they anticipate as they go in to these positions if they're elected. Eva, I'd like to start with you. You currently manage a number of HOAs. You've been doing that for years. What do you anticipate happening if you're elected? And by the way, I should mention, I'm sorry, Eva is not with us on camera tonight. She is with us via phone. Her internet is out at her home office. So she is joining us via phone this evening. So Eva, what are your anticipations? What do you anticipate happening if you are elected in the first, few hours to few months?
Well, right after, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry. Right after election happens, the board positions of president, vice president, second vice president, secretary, and CFO are then either nominated or appointed. Then 5 people have to work together in order to figure out who is going to take what position. Once that happens, I think that's pretty much the rest of the meeting. I haven't seen an agenda, but I have seen just that's kind of the organizational meeting as far as what happens after. Once those positions are put into play, I'd like to see, and I don't necessarily see how the association does it, but I'd like to see some type of, ethical standard of some sort, some kind of code of conduct maybe, that the board members will agree to and adhere to, and move on from there. I think that starting at the beginning as a new member of the board, we're going to kind of listen and learn, see how it's ran, familiarize with the governing docs. I already know a little bit of the civil code, but just get familiar with the processes of the association now, how it's ran, and review the governing docs to see how we can make it better. I think that there's change that can be made in every association with every new board. As each board's change, there are always things can be done differently, and I'd like to kind of see how it plays out and see how it would work best as far as my opinion is, and can maybe give some of my ideas to that board so we can maybe work a little bit better together. But again, I'm new, and if I were to make it to the board, I'd be new, and I'd like to listen and learn from them as well, and go from there.
Thank you. Kathy, would you like to answer the question?
Yes, thank you. Those are great points, Eva. I do also agree that it would be wonderful to see a type of agreement, an ethics agreement. We know that, or maybe some people don't know that there are really two areas that board members are focused on, and they have their duties are duty of care, taking care of our community, common grounds, our buildings, our clubs, our finances, and they also have the duty of loyalty, which means they protect our association in all matters, and they refrain from any type of injury to our association, whatever that might be in their behaviors or acting as a board member. And also, I think maybe it might be good to explain to our membership what kind of things happen when you are discerning a decision or trying to make a decision, and what comes into play when you go down that path. And so we have our governing documents that we refer to do that. And there are 5 areas and documents that we refer to, and there's a hierarchy to those. And there's the law, which would be our federal and state law, and also Davis-Sterling. And for those who do not know what Davis-Sterling is, it's a California governance tool for homeowners associations that really addresses all the areas that homeowner association, how they should be operated. So it's very in-depth. And then there's their CC&Rs and our articles of incorporation, our bylaws, and our operating rules. So when we have decisions that are put before us as board members, if I happen to get elected to the board, we rely heavily, the board will rely heavily on our governing documents and research those. I also think it might be good to take some questions from our membership there, if they're not familiar with some areas that the board focuses on, and they're not totally familiar, maybe they can put forth some questions to the new board, and we could all take a turn answering those questions to better inform our members what our duties are, how we reach our decisions, and what happens when we don't all agree, which will probably be, not I don't know how often that would happen, but it's bound to happen.
I think those are good points, because the fallout, as far as what the membership sees on our side, is when there may not be agreement, then immediately it tends to go to whoever that particular candidate is that they voted for, and the perception might be that they're not doing what they promised that they would do, and that's not always the case. There's a pecking order when you come in as a new board member, and there is a process in that. Eva, would you like to speak to that a little bit? What does that look like for a new board member, whether you're 1, 2, or 3 new seats coming in? What does the protocol look like? Can you go in and just lay everything out on the table, or what does that typically look like?
I don't think so. I think that, of course, it's always better to, get in and see how they work on things. That's always, the best case scenario. We're heading in to work as a team. But once we get positioned, and we'll know our roles better. But I think that, obviously majority always is the winner. 3 of the 2 votes, if we disagreed, I think we'd have to respectfully understand each other's opinions. I think that's what you're asking, was kind of how the votes are gonna work, Paula?
Yeah, so to speak. How are the votes going to work? Is there a process that needs to be followed outside of just minority majority rule? Split?
Well, I think yeah. My phone is making some weird noises. I'm sorry. I think that the process is, each board has their own process, and when a new board is elected or new members come on, things obviously change, and other people would like to see different things happen. I have had a board in the past where, their violations were first, second, and then hearing. And I had a new board come on and they wanted kind of a gentle courtesy notice to begin with, then first, second, and hearing. And so I think that there's some things that are not set in stone, and rules are not set in stone. So in order to change rules, the association would have to send out a member comment period for 28 days of the proposed rules. And then once those proposed rules are sent out, at the next regular meeting, the board can adopt them or listen to what the membership has to say. So rules are always ever changing and updating, changing with with the law. And so each board, once elected, it always changes a little bit. There's always some type of new ideas that are presented. So it's great to review those and redo those. So I hope to see that in the future here for our board as well. But that's usually how it happens when new boards are elected.
Interesting. Kathy, did you have any comments to that?
Well, what I would like to address is something you had mentioned, Paula, about, making promises and maybe not being able to keep them. And it's hard to make promises in this situation. And I would hesitate to do that. There's some things that I put down that I feel we need. I think we need transparency for our board members and for our association, better communication. And I believe we need to have board meetings where everybody can attend. It's a set time in the evening. Some people might not like it at 6 o'clock, but that way those that are working or have other things going on can attend. So those aren't promises. It's something I would work towards. However, it's hard to say to anybody, and I would not say to anybody, I promise to do this if I'm elected, because as Paula said, as Eva said, I'm sorry, if I got elected, I would be the new person. You can't come onto a board and just stomp your feet and want things to go your way with the ideas and thoughts and that you might have. I think we have to remember that we all have to act in the best interests of our community, and that should always be in the forefront of our minds. Every single board member, our egos can't get in the way. We can discuss things thoroughly if there's an issue we're not likely to all agree. You know, the first time something comes up, there's probably going to be dissenting opinions and ideas and perspectives, but that's healthy. Disagreements can be healthy. They don't have to be detrimental or negative, because sometimes there's innovative thought that comes through and with disagreements and ideas and considerations that, oh my goodness, I hadn't thought of that, looking at it in that way. And so it doesn't have to be seen as a negative thing. So I think it's important to respect everybody, and also respect our membership and their feelings and what they would like us to hear. I think it's important to hear from them.
Yeah, that's all good points. It's interesting because, you know, I've been working with all of the new candidates, 5 and then 4 new candidates for a good 7 or 8 weeks now. And through that process, we've worked very intimately. I've learned a lot about all of them. And in particular, I've learned a lot about David Sterling, about bylaws, about how this particular HOA runs versus others. And so for me, it's been a tremendous experience. I can imagine what it would be like for a new candidate getting, you know, elected to the board, especially without any prior experience, and entering this world that, you know, is full of wonder, you know, but knowing that you have a contribution to your community through that service. One of the things I was thinking about, and I think we do have some time to bring it up right now, is out of everything that you know right now, I mean, there's no question that serving on the board, an HOA board, is not always a pleasant experience, in that you may not always make decisions that make all the community members happy, that appease all the community members, or maybe it's not happening fast enough. So that being said, you know, my hat's off to those who have served before the current board as well as the current board. I believe everyone is doing the absolute best that they can. So that being said, out of all of the things that you're looking forward to if you are elected, both good and bad, what would those be? Let's start with you, Eva. Eva, we can't hear you.
Sorry.
There we go.
Is it breaking up?
Yeah, I can hear you now. So did you hear my question?
I didn't. Sorry, it was breaking up.
Okay, so out of all of the things that you look forward to about possibly serving on the board, take the good and the bad, what are you looking forward to, both good and bad? And as far as, you know, the challenging areas, why do you look forward to that?
Okay, sure. You know, I think some of the good things I think would make it better for the association would be to put the minutes out with the agendas for the following meeting. I think that's very informative to the membership. The minutes, having a little bit more detail in there. I have read minutes of, you know, some of my employees that they've written, and you read them after the fact. If you didn't go to a meeting, if you're still questioning what happened, it should have more detail. There should have more discussion or more whatever, you know, whatever detail they need in there. I'd like to see a little bit of that. So people that can't attend those meetings, if the meeting time doesn't change, can understand what the association is doing with their money and the moves that they're making. I look forward to, I would love to dive into the financials. I think that in some past meetings, I've heard some information about where we're at, where we sit as far as the reserve study and our operating expenses. I've heard people discuss reserve expenses and operating budget, so I'm not clear that everything's happening as it should, or maybe that people aren't clear. I'd love to get into that. Money is my thing. Some of the things that I think may be difficult is being younger and being on the board. I think that I will have some issues with that. Not necessarily myself, but I think some people will have issues with that until they can see that I can perform and be a great member of the board. Those are some of the things that I would like to see.
Perfect. Kathy?
Sure. Some of the positive things that I am looking forward to is really serving this community and looking forward to building it up, making some positive changes for our community. What I would like to do, I think that surveys are very underutilized. I know it costs money, there's time and effort involved in that, but there's got to be a better way to reach out to our membership to get their input on things, other than coming to a board meeting, and those that are able to come, even those that come to the board meeting may not even feel comfortable getting up and speaking. So I think there might be a better way to do that through a survey. So I'm looking forward to maybe seeing if that is something that we can put forth to our membership to get more input from them and communicate with them. I'm looking forward to having, a learning. I'm looking forward to learning from the directors that will be remaining and possibly new ones that will be there with me. I'm looking forward to learning all about being on a board for an association of this size. And it's quite large. There's a lot going on here. And so there's going to be a learning curve and I will be spending significant amount of time reading documents and researching Davis Sterling and just listening to how things are, kind of how things flow at meetings, at executive meetings, board meetings. So it's important, I think, to have a mission and a strategy, so the board can facilitate better decisions, and so we can have a concrete plan on where we need to be years ahead. And as Eva had mentioned, our financials, our reserve funds, those are important because it's not just about today or tomorrow or next year or this building that needs to be renovated or this needs to be done right now, but what we're going to have to work with, the money to work with to keep everything running in the years ahead. And some of the things that might be a little bit difficult would be when I don't agree with a method of or a way they're going forward, and how would I handle that? I would have to listen to all of the research that has been put into it. I would have to, hopefully there's we've had input from the community, from our manager, from maybe even at times our attorney if we've reached an impasse at something. So it's always a little bit nerve-wracking when something is kind of thrown at you and you're like, I'm not sure if I am on the same path here, but I'm open to learning why the others think this may be a good way to go. So I have to be sensitive to that. And so, there's a little hesitation there. I'm not terribly fearful, because I like to learn, and I look forward to learning and being of service.
Perfect. Okay, so with the few minutes that we have left, I'd like to give each of you about a minute, 2 minutes to just one quick closing statement about promise versus process, something that maybe you haven't covered, and just a thought to leave with our community members tonight and then those who are able to view this in the future. Eva, would you like to start? Eva, can you hear us? We may have some connections. Kathy, we'll start with you.
Sure, sure. I'd like to say that I have to remember, and I think it's good for all of us to remember, that being on a board, it affords those individuals who are on the board unique insights and to information and context into the broader picture that may be before us, where we have to make decisions. So I have to be aware of that, and I think we could, board members, as long as we respect each other and remember that we're working towards the common good of our community and all membership, and that we should have a united front, have an alignment when we've come to a decision. We present a united front to our community and be willing to engage them in defending that united front. And I think our community will reflect more positive energy from that united front, and there'll be positive changes, and our membership will feel better about our board when we can be united in many things, and then communicate effectively, respectfully to our membership. I think that goes a long way.
Absolutely. Eva, can you hear us yet?
I can. It's just breaking up a little bit.
It is breaking up, but we can hear you. Did you hear the what I said about the last closing quick comment to our community members? Something you would like to leave them with tonight regarding promises and process?
Yeah, I think if elected, I'd like, sorry, it's sounding bad on my end. So if elected, I'd like to see quite a bit of change with the board, with the processes. I think I have a lot of great ideas. And I think change is inevitable. We can't be stuck in the same old ways, year after year. I think if we get some new people on the board and have some of the old people, I think that it'll be a new team. And I look forward to working with all of, whoever is elected and the remaining members on the board, and working towards better processes, better communication, where our members feel like they're, part of the decisions, part of the outcome, part of the future. I think it's very important. So if elected, and I think one of my greatest strengths is getting up every day, very positive, knowing I can make a change somehow, some way. And I think that's what my driving factor is I really enjoy things like this, and getting up to make something better is what I live for. Home life, business, everything. So it would just be very nice to serve on the other side of the table on a board in lieu of, serving and managing members or boards. I would, like this opportunity to serve and learn from them as well. So I just think that I think this year is the year that there should be change, and I think there will be change. And I hope, I hope for the best for the association. I've been in the community for a long time. I know a lot of people who live there, tenants, owners, caregivers, and it's just such a great community. So I think that we're on the right path and hoping for good change.
Absolutely perfect. And, it is, as I mentioned before, it's really a selfless form of service. And there's a lot of work that goes into it. So I thank everyone who has served before the board. I thank the existing board for what they're doing. And I thank all of these candidates who are really committing and stepping up to make a difference. And it's true. It's been consistently spot on as far as, your intention and managing the expectations of the voter community through your communication has been important. And hopefully events like tonight will will give you all, the membership, a little bit more insight as to the dynamics in and around, being placed in a board seat, and what happens after. Just a quick note, we're going to be continuing this conversation on process and promises and process with Ken Stockton, who is one of the other candidates, on Thursday night at 6 o'clock. So we encourage you to join us there to hear his feedback. A little bit interesting from him, as he has served on the board in the past. And so he might have a slightly different perspective to present. So worth taking a look at. Yeah, we're down to the wire here. So next week we have 2 more events. We thank you all for joining us and for the support that you've given us throughout all of this. We will be recording like the other events. These will be available on our Leisure Town Live YouTube channel, as well as the Leisure Town Live website. We invite you to share it with others who may not have access to social media. And really just, this is designed to give you all the information you need to make an informed decision. So any comments you have, pop them into the chat box underneath the Facebook event. And we're happy to address those as we move forward. And please, please, please do not forget to vote. It's so important. Thank you, Eva. Thank you, Kathy. And thank you, community, for joining us this evening. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.